What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we're chatting with Cyrus Saatsaz from Locked On Warriors. The Golden State Warriors go up 3-0 against the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals behind a pair of impressive games from Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins. Are the Mavericks about to get swept by the Warriors? But first, a quick message from my friends over at BetOnline, because our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, from live betting, playoffs, esports, the NBA draft, and more. And speaking of the NBA draft, right now you can take a look at BetOnline to see who is the odds-on favorite to be the number one overall selection in this year's NBA draft. Right now, Jabari Smith Jr. minus 140 to go number one overall in this year's draft. Chet Holmgren at plus 190 to be the number one overall selection. And then Paolo Banchero bringing up the rear at plus 475. So for that and more, check out their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action available to you. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Joining us now is Cyrus Saatsaz from Locked On Warriors. You can follow on Twitter at DogSurf Roadshow. Cyrus, the Warriors in the driver's seat in this series, taking complete control against the Dallas Mavericks, now up 3-0 after their 109-100 win at the American Airlines Center. Just complete, this is not looking great for the Dallas Mavericks. There's no other way to put it. Warriors now at 3-0. This is now their 26th playoff series with at least one road win. And across NBA history, not like in the last decade, not the last 20 years, NBA history, no team has ever lost after leading 3-0. The current record, 146-0. So if this iteration of the Warriors is the first team to fumble that, I think there'd be a lot of shocked faces. And I don't exactly expect Dallas to reel off 4 wins in a row. Dallas might get another game or two here in the series, but it looks very firmly in hand for the Warriors. But in this game specifically, Cyrus, this was 48-47 at halftime. Yeah. The Warriors had a 1-point lead. What changed in that third quarter for the Warriors to take just completely take command of the game?
I want to first knock on wood for that 3-0 record, because you're right. No one's ever come back from that, but we just saw in the opening round, the Raptors were kind of pushing the Sixers to the edge there with their 3-0 lead. The Warriors have just, if there's anything they've truly turned into an art or a science or a combination of things, it's their third quarters. I mean, Steve Kerr is just truly brilliant when it comes to adjustments. For anyone who knocks him in terms of his X's and O's, watch what he crafts when it comes to an inbound play, and watch how the team responds in third quarters. They make adjustments. They don't stay stagnant. And that always signifies to me a great coach in terms of their fingerprints on a game is what adjustments does a team make? Because oftentimes the strategy you come into a game with just doesn't work. And like you said, it was 48-47. But ultimately, I really think that 48-47 score was closer than the game indicated. I really didn't see much difference in the third quarter. I saw both teams shooting not great from beyond the arc. I think the Warriors finished the game shooting 34.4%, and the Mavericks were much worse at 28.9%. As efficient as the Warriors have been this series, and tonight included with the road game, I mean, the Mavericks are kind of, part of it is them just, I don't think they're ready for this moment. I mean, the Western Conference Finals are just a whole other level that most, if not all of them, have never experienced before. But players like Maxi Kleber, for example, who came into this game shooting 49% from three, in tonight's game, he went 0 for 5, and he looks like scared out there. He had no points. Spencer Dinwiddie, besides the obvious being Luka Doncic, they're really the only two that are consistently contributing in this series and causing problems, if you call it that, for the Warriors. I mean, I just think the third quarter was just kind of a more proper adjustment of the score that wasn't reflected in the first half. And yeah, the Warriors had this in control from beginning to end.
Yeah, the Dallas Mavericks had just an atrocious night with so many of their role players who normally show up. They're resident, shooters. Reggie Bullock, 0 of 10. That's supposed to be their guy in their starting lineup who hits all the shots. And I do think, a part of this was just the Dallas Mavericks got some good shots in this game. But the other part that really stood out to me, Cyrus, looking at the Warriors and just their play in this game, was the way that their defense forced the Mavericks into things that they weren't
Yes.
comfortable doing, right? They were running so those guys off their spots at the 3-point line. We saw, and I, again, to your credit with Coach Steve Kerr, is some of the creative different defensive schemes that we saw the Warriors throwing at the Mavericks in the second half to keep Luka Doncic off balance, to keep the Mavericks guessing, right? They would kind of hedge on the picks, then they would run some box and one, they'd run some zone, and it's that level of creativity with the defense that makes it so hard to game plan against them offensively.
Yeah, it is, but we have to bring up Andrew Wiggins, right? This is a player who there's been a lot of speculation about his future with the team. Unfortunately, it's being brought up repeatedly in the postseason, despite it bearing no relevance at this point. But I think he's making the front office rethink whatever their long-term plans are with him. And really, it's not the money for him that is the sole reason that there's a lot of discussions about him possibly being traded, because he does want another max year or a max contract after his contract expires next year. But it's also the fact that at some point you're going to have to give Jonathan Kuminga minutes. And there's only so many minutes to give out on this team, and those two play a very similar position. And but that poster dunk tonight that he did on Luka was just, I mean, when you talk about plays, like single plays that really just demoralize the opposition and just take all the wind out of an arena filled with 20,000 plus fans, that was it. I would love to get a non-Warriors fans perspective on that, because first of all, when I saw the offensive call, I think I was just up in arms, and I'm really happy that Kerr challenged that, right? And that they saw that it was in fact not an offensive foul. But Wiggins is just playing lights out in this postseason, and I mean his numbers tonight. I think he had a career playoff high 27 points, 11 rebounds. He sticks out. I mean, Stephen Curry is the obvious one. He's on track to win his fourth world title in 8 years. They got to win 5 more. There's still a long ways to go, but that one finals MVP is the one little blotch on his resume that eludes him from really any remaining argument for him really being in that ultimate pantheon of like the top 10 all-time greats. And that's now on his right in front of him again, potentially. I mean, they got to win one more still. I don't want to overlook the Mavericks. They did get this far for a reason, but look, I could say this: Dub Nation right now is in a weird place, because on one hand they're just exuberant, they're elated, on the other hand they're just kind of like in awe. I mean, it's this team. I don't think any Warriors team can be comparable to those Kevin Durant teams, especially the first two that won championships. But I'm confident in saying this team is better than the 2015 one. Their core is, they're older, but the experience is showing a lot more. They're not past their prime yet. And then you have someone like Andrew Wiggins. You have players like Jordan Poole. Let's hope Otto Porter Jr. comes back. But this is a deep team. And Kevon Looney's now looking like a legit NBA center. He had another a great rebounding night with 12 rebounds. So sorry to talk forever there. I'm going off, but it's this Warriors team is damn impressive. And I'm curious to see what happens the rest of this postseason.
Cyrus, this is your segment. It's your job to talk. No, look, man. To your point about Andrew Wiggins, right? I mean, his impact cannot be understated for this Warriors team. And you look at just not even just the offensive production that he brought to the table, but defensively, right? He's been mirroring Luka Doncic's minutes. Like Luka subs out, Wiggins subs out. Luka subs back in, Wiggins subs back in. That's been part of the game plan for Steve Kerr. And then you mentioned Jordan Poole, right? This game, even though the Warriors were largely in control for the majority of that second half, the Mavericks did go on that bit of the run there, in the fourth quarter, trying to cut this game, trying to make it a game, as the minutes were winding down, and they cut it to 5 with about a minute left to go. And then who else but Jordan Poole to come up with the clutch 3-pointer, because, hey, the Mavericks decided that at that point in the game, they had to double Steph Curry. You double Steph Curry, he commands all that gravity.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson, I believe, drives it in, kicks it out to Jordan Poole, hits the wide open 3. And that's how the Warriors kill you, right? Is you have to commit 2 to Curry. And then now they have so many weapons. It's basically pick your poison at this point with this team.
Yeah. And the Jordan Poole thing, again, he didn't have like a great stat night tonight. I think he finished the game with 10 points, but that dagger 3 at the end really did seal it. And I mean, again, he's a player that just a year ago was really being written off, maybe a little over a year ago. I mean, this is not a player that people anticipated reaching this level, especially still only 22 years old. And he's developed his game to the point where he can get where he wants to go on the court. His handles are incredible. His footwork is exemplary. I mean, people were talking last series that maybe there was something slick under his shoes. This is like a legitimate concern. Like people were asking, like, is something wrong with the shoes? Is it slippery on the court? That's just how he moves. He's just got this like Michael Jackson type footwork. It's really crazy. The way he gets around, and he's incredibly hard to defend. Jordan Poole has just been fantastic. I don't know what else to say in terms of his contribution. I was really fascinated personally. Oh, let me take a step back here. The Andrew Wiggins thing, what you said about him shadowing Luka's minutes. Wiggins in game 6 last round against the Grizzlies. And, I'm in the minority saying this, but I'm going to go all the way to the end saying this, that I really do believe the Memphis Grizzlies were the second best team in this postseason. And it's all downhill for the Warriors. As long as they stay healthy, the Otto Porter Jr. injury is a little concerning. We'll see what happens there. But in game 6, Andrew Wiggins, shortly before tip-off, went to Steve Kerr and said, I want Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones was filling in for Ja Morant, and Tyus Jones is vastly underrated. He's a lights out shooter, ball handler. He plays great defense, and he's the type of player that gives the Warriors problems because he's lethal from deep. He's fast. It's hard to stay in front of him. But Andrew Wiggins said, "Coach, I want the assignment. I want to guard him from one end to the other, meaning full court, a full court press." He wanted to shadow his minutes, and Kerr was like, "Are you sure? Like, this guy is smaller, he's faster, he's got an incredible endurance and agility." And Wiggins is like, "I'll play all the minutes you need me to play. If you want 48, I'll give you 48." And from that point on, Wiggins has taken on this special extra emphasis on defense, and is carried over from that game 6 now to Luka, and he's giving Luka problems. He's like the exact kind of player that you really want to defend Luka, meaning like someone who's like 6'7", 6'8", who's long, who's strong. Like he muscles up to Luka when Luka's trying to back him down. Luka can really outmuscle most other players that defend him, and he's having a hard time doing that with Wiggins. I mean, look, no one's going to stop Luka, obviously, but all he can do is give him problems and make his shots hard. And Wiggins is taking that task to heart, and you have to respect it. It's effective. Again, you can't really judge it based on Luka's numbers, because when you look at Luka tonight, 40 points, right? 11 rebounds. I mean, you would never think that Wiggins did a great job defensively, but it kind of reminds me of like Andre Iguodala in the 2015 NBA Finals. They gave him Finals MVP because of his defense on LeBron James. LeBron still was putting huge numbers, but he was giving him enough problems to end up with the W in the win-loss column, and that's what the bottom line is. So, yeah. That's what stuck out to me.
Hey, I mean, Andrew Wiggins has been so impactful for this Warriors team. I'm glad you brought up the anecdote about just his desire, right, to take on that role, for this Warriors team, and to live up to, that challenge of, hey, give me the defensive assignment. I'll do whatever I need to do
Yeah.
for this team to win. But are the Warriors on their way to a sweep of the Dallas Mavericks, and after that, a finals berth, potentially a 4th title in 8 years? You're going to have us covered for all of that and more, of course, over at Locked On Warriors. Cyrus, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Jackson, I'll come on with you anytime you ask, man. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.